When I pulled off the highway that summer morning, I was hit with that punch to the gut feeling you get when your entire childhood just disappears. I mean, the dirt road I grew up on. Gone. Paved over with shiny black asphalt, lined with matching mailboxes, and there it was, a big stone slab reading, "Welcome to Maple Creek, HOA." Rows and rows of copy-paste houses stretched across the valley where my dad's old barn used to creak in the wind. It was like someone scrubbed my memories out and left a plastic copy behind. Kids were playing on driveways poured straight over the roots of those stubborn old oak trees my father and I planted. And then, as if on cue, she appeared, red blazer, clipboard held high, barking orders at landscapers like she owned every square inch. Karen Blackwood, the queen bee of Maple Creek HOA. I tried to walk out toward where our fence used to run, but two security guards stepped in like I was some criminal. "Sir, this is private HOA property." I held up my dad's deed from 1974, this old yellow paper that still smelled like his desk drawer. "You sure about that?" "Because according to this, it's mine." Karen didn't even blink. "That land hasn't belonged to you in years," she smirked. And just like that, I realized they hadn't just built a neighborhood. They built it right on top of everything my family ever owned. I grew up out there, 48 acres of wind and soil that had my family's name stamped on every tax record back to the 50s. My father used to say, "You don't own land, son. It owns you." After he died, the place became more than property. It was a promise. But I left for a job overseas. What was supposed to be 2 years turned into 8. I kept paying taxes, kept the deed current. Trusted the online system, you know how it goes. Turns out, systems fail. And sometimes, so do people. While I was flying around the world, Karen Blackwood was laying the foundation for her own little kingdom right over my inheritance. I didn't know any of this until my old neighbor emailed. "Dante, you need to come home. They're building houses where your barn used to be." At first, I thought he was joking, until he sent the pictures. 88 beige boxes lined up where wild grass and apple trees should have been. I sat in a Dubai hotel room, coffee cooling in my hand, just staring at those photos. The rage came slow, like a fire you can't put out. It wasn't about money. It was about my father's name getting paved over by people who'd never set foot on that soil. The minute I landed stateside, I drove straight to the county office. The clerk punched my name into the system, frowning. "No active record under Hayes Ranch." You know that moment your stomach drops? That's what I felt. It says the land was annexed by Maple Creek HOA. Previous owner, null. Deleted. Like I'd never existed. I begged to see the archives, and ended up spending nights knee-deep in dust and cardboard boxes, searching for one document, my dad's original deed. Meanwhile, Karen doubled down. Every time I stepped foot near my land, she'd show up with security and that smug smile, calling me a trespasser on my own dirt. At some point, I stopped being angry and got determined. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one, but by the book. That's when the real twist hit. Turns out, the digital records had a typo. My parcel ID got mangled when they switched to the new system, so the land just vanished from the county's eyes. But in reality, it was still there. Still legally mine, buried under all that asphalt and HOA paperwork. Karen pounced on the error, filed for a $1 annexation claiming my land was abandoned. The board just nodded and built right over it. But Karen underestimated just how stubborn a Hayes could be. One night, as I drove around the cul-de-sacs, a guy flagged me down. "You're the one she's after, right?" He introduced himself as Tom Rivera, one of the first homeowners. "She runs this place like a dictatorship." "You're not crazy. She's got everyone terrified." Tom filled me in. Karen had promised that more homes meant lower dues, higher property values. But really, she was just growing her own power. The more land she grabbed, the bigger her empire. I started piecing together every email, every permit, every blurry photo from before the houses went up. It took weeks, but I finally found the smoking gun, an annexation form with my dad's name forged at the bottom, written in a hand that was definitely not his. My father broke his hand in '85. His signature never looped like that. This wasn't just a mistake. This was fraud. When I confronted Karen, she tried to laugh it off, but I saw the panic in her eyes. That same week, my tires got slashed, my mailbox yanked out of the ground, and I got county notices for delinquent taxes that I'd already paid. Karen thought intimidation would make me back down, but I don't scare easy. Instead, I kept digging. That's when a contractor named Earl showed up. Older guy, couldn't sleep knowing he'd worked jobs without proper permits on my land. He handed me a signed work order from Karen herself. More evidence. The real turning point came down in the bowels of the county records office. A dusty box labeled Ironwood Ranch, 1974. Inside was the deed, my father's signature, embossed seal, and coordinates that matched exactly where Maple Creek now sprawled. There was even a letter from the original county surveyor, John Miller, confirming the boundaries. I tracked Miller down. He was retired, still sharp, and remembered my dad and the property like it was yesterday. He agreed to testify if it went to court. Armed with the original deed, Miller's testimony, and every scrap of evidence, I took it all to my attorney, Sarah Kim. Sharp as a tack, she barely blinked when I told her the story. That's fraud. Zoning violations, property theft. Let's bury them. When the lawsuit hit, Karen went nuclear. Gates, cameras, new warning signs, the whole 9 yards. HOA residents started whispering, wondering if they even owned their homes. Then came the explosion, literally. Karen tried to dig up the property stakes in the middle of the night, and her crew ruptured a gas line. The blast lit up the valley, took out part of the development, and, thankfully, nobody died. But Karen was done. The sheriff arrested her on the spot. The investigation found embezzlement, illegal contracts, and a mountain of HOA money funneled to fake beautification projects. When the judge read the verdict, the courtroom was silent. Land restored to me. HOA charter nullified. Karen guilty on all counts. But it didn't end in revenge, not really. I could have evicted everyone. Instead, I sold 8 homes to families who'd truly been caught in the crossfire. For $1 each, on the promise they'd help restore the rest of the valley as a public park. Bulldozers took down the rest, and little by little, the land breathed again. Wildflowers replaced. Driveways. The sound of hammers and lawsuits faded, replaced by kids playing near the creek, right where my father once stood and dreamed. I saw Karen just once more, in cuffs, shuffling through the courthouse. She whispered, "You could have built something great, you know." And I told her, "We did. You just built yours on lies. If you stuck around to the end, let me ask, what would you have done? Was I right to fight for the land, or should I have just let it go? Tell me below, where's the line between justice and revenge? Because out here, sometimes the land remembers longer than people do. And trust me, more true stories are coming. So if you believe in standing your ground, stick around for the next round, because the real world is wilder than anything an HOA can dream up. I wish I could tell you that after the verdict, life just snapped back to normal. But the truth is, normal doesn't really come back once you've seen your whole history bulldozed and resurrected in court. For weeks, Maple Creek looked like the set of some apocalypse film. Burned mailboxes, half-melted fences, yellow police tape flapping in the breeze, like the land itself was still trying to shake off all those years of forced order and fake smiles. The county wasted no time. Within 48 hours of the judge's order, they'd handed me the title in person, framed, and everything. The same clerk who once shrugged and asked if I'd sold the place shook my hand, almost embarrassed. "Welcome home, Mr. Hayes," she said. And for the first time in years, those words meant something. That week, demolition crews rolled in, not to tear me down, but to help me rebuild. Those 88 houses, which had stood like little monuments to someone else's ambition, started coming down one after another. The sound of glass shattering, walls crashing. It should have felt like revenge, but really, it felt like release. Neighbors gathered at the edge of the property, some in tears, some just angry at Karen, a few even at me. One woman clung to her kid, begging me to let them stay. I believed her. Most of them had no idea their so-called dream homes were built on a lie. So I did something nobody expected. I picked 8 homes at the north end, spared them, and sold the land to those families for $1 each, on the single condition that they'd help me restore. What was left? No more fences, no more board meetings, just dirt under our nails and some good old-fashioned sweat. Word got around, and suddenly folks who'd been at each other's throats over mailbox colors were rolling up sleeves, planting trees, clearing debris. Kids built rope swings in the old oaks, the ones my dad planted. The place that once echoed with the sound of leaf blowers and rulebooks now rang with laughter and the clatter of hammers. Funny how quickly people can change when you give them the chance. Even Tom Rivera, remember him? He brought his son to help rebuild the Old Barns Foundation, said he wanted his boy to know what community really meant, not just what some laminated rulebook says. But, not everyone was on board. The aftermath dragged out. As it always does, insurance headaches, legal threats, a whole lot of folks trying to blame the county, the developers, even me for fighting back in the first place. The media circled for weeks, eager to find some villain. Was it Karen? Was it me? Was it the broken system? I stopped answering most of their calls. And then, just when things started to feel steady, I got a letter, anonymous. No return address. Just one line. You should have let sleeping dogs lie. At first I laughed, but I won't lie. It put a chill up my spine. Made me double-check my locks and scan the tree line after dark. Karen had a few loyalists left, folks who saw her as a hero for trying to modernize Ironwood, and I guess they weren't ready to let go. But here's the twist no one saw coming. One afternoon, I found myself face-to-face with Karen's own daughter. She was maybe 19, standing at the edge of the new wildflower field, arms folded, eyes full of defiance and something else, grief, maybe. You ruined my mom's life, she told me, straight out, voice quivering. She just wanted to build something people would be proud of. For a second, I saw the whole mess through her eyes, a daughter, watching her mother unravel, the story the world never hears. I told her, quietly, sometimes building for others means respecting what came before. Your mom forgot that. She didn't answer. But later I saw her planting a tree with the other volunteers, silent, determined. The kind of moment you don't see on the news, but that sticks with you long after the noise fades. Spring rolled in, and the land came alive. Wildflowers where driveways used to be, benches under the big oaks, a sign someone carved that read, Ironwood Preserve, dedicated to Raymond Hayes, who knew land always speaks. Every Saturday, the place filled with families, some from the old Maple Creek, some brand new, just grateful to be outside in a place that felt honest again. And forgiveness crept in, slow and quiet. I even found myself hoping Karen would find some kind of peace, wherever she ended up. Last I heard, she was working in a prison library, shelving law books, teaching others not to make her mistakes. There's a kind of poetry in that, I guess. So, here I am, standing on the hill where my father's barn used to throw its shadow, watching the sun set over a valley that remembers both the wounds and the healing. The past isn't something you bulldoze or pave over, no matter how hard you try. If anything, it comes back stronger, woven into the roots of every tree and the laughter of every kid who runs barefoot through the grass. Before I go, I always stop by the old boundary marker, the paint nearly worn off, the date still just barely visible. Hayes Ranch, 1974. I kneel down, brush the dirt away, and say, "We did it, Dad. It's home again." The wind always seems to answer, soft as a promise. But let me leave you with this. Do you think justice really won here, or did everyone just lose a little less? Would you have done the same, or walked away? Drop your thoughts below. In the end, all any of us can do is stand our ground and hope the land remembers kindness longer than it remembers conflict. And if you're still here, more wild HOA stories are coming your way, because out here, the truth never stays buried for long.